Hello, History Optional students. Welcome to Diademy IAS History Optional. Today, we are going to discuss about the syllabus. I will show you what exactly UPSC has given in the notification. And side by side, we are going to see the previous year questions also, how questions are coming from that particular chapter. If you observe this is paper 2. We are going to discuss now paper 2, chapter by chapter. For example, in paper 2, first chapter is European penetration into India. European penetration into India, in that subheadings are given. Now, one of the advantages of history optional is detailed syllabus is given. That's why you need not to be afraid of the length of the syllabus. The more the length, that means it is in favor of the student only, nothing to fear at all. Now, in this unit or in this chapter, what are the subtopics we have to study? It's clearly mentioned. The early European settlements, the Portuguese and the Dutch, the English and the French East India companies, their struggle for supremacy, Carnatic Wars, Bengal, the conflict between English and the Nawabs of Bengal, Siraj and English, Battle of Plassey, significance of Plassey. So this is the syllabus mentioned in the UPSC notification exactly. Now, how to analyze this? Let's go to this. You need to always keep the India map with you. That's why our paper 1, first question itself, map. We should have very good geographical understanding in order to understand better history. Now we are in paper 2. Paper 2 is modern India and modern world. Now when it comes to modern India, part 1, now you need to see this. Now we were having India, the present day India. At that time, Bangladesh also, Pakistan also, and some parts of Afghanistan were also under Mughal Empire. Before the emergence of British, Mughals were controlling these lands. Now you need to see this. Throughout our history, this land we are calling India, that is Bharat, in the language of Indian Constitution. This land always got threats from invasions from this side throughout our history. But for the first time in our history, we got threats from ocean. Since ancient times, ocean always created, and also the Himalayas always became the natural barriers for the Indian subcontinent, leaving this northwestern part. Because there are, even though mountains are there, there are some passes like Khyber Pass. This has created passes to the invaders, and always this land has seen the invasions. But for the first time in modern India, we are going to see the threats from this. Now, at that time, in 16th and 17th centuries, Europeans were very good, having very good navigation skills, and they started discovering beyond the oceans from European continent. Vasco da Gama, he discovered sea route from Europe directly to India. Now, from the time period onwards, many Europeans came. Now, many Europeans means, now initially, when it comes to the world, this is the western coast. Now here, Portuguese came. Next, Dutch people came. Then English people. Then French, Danish also. Different Europeans started coming when Mughal authority is here. Mughals were controlling the capital of Mughal Empire for some time, Agra, and for some time, Delhi. Now, when these Mughal Empire was controlling Indian subcontinent, now these English companies, they were normal merchants. They came here for better employment opportunities or better profits. Today also, many people are going from India to USA, from India to other countries. Similarly, other country people are coming to India. But today, India is an independent country, and we can have our own policies. Similarly, during Mughal time period, Mughals were controlling, and also in Deccan Sultanates, Bahmani Sultanate later disintegrated into Deccan Sultanate, and Vijayanagara Empire. So when these empires were there, these people came for better profits. Now, because these people were Indians, obviously they always aim for the betterment of Indians, not in favor of the foreigner, naturally. But after gradually Mughal Empire disintegrated, these Deccan Sultanates disintegrated, Vijayanagara Empire disintegrated, many small principalities emerged. By that time, these companies became very powerful. Initially, Portuguese involved in Deccan politics. For example, Goa later became the capital of Portuguese. This Goa was initially part of Bijapur kingdom. Similarly, the English companies, French companies, Dutch companies, they took different trading posts in the eastern coast and west coast. West coast and east coast. Many companies were established. Now gradually, over a period of time, Portuguese, Dutch, they became less relevant, but by 1700 and up to 1750-60, French and English, they became very powerful entities. Now, English and French, they started, initially they were fighting. It is not that all these, even though they are Europeans, they are not unified. They were having cutthroat competition among them. That's why in the initial days, French and English, they were fighting like anything. Even in Europe also, always British and French used to always fight. Whenever there is a fighting over there, they used to fight in India also. By that time period, by 1740s, French and English, they became very powerful. Already, English people, French people had various settlements in different parts of Indian subcontinent. Now, these people directly started involving in the politics of Indian principalities. Already, because by this time period, by 1740s, Mughal Empire declined. There is no strong central authority. Only regional kingdoms like Bengal, Awadh, here Hyderabad, Carnatic, and Marathas are very powerful. So many kingdoms, many small kingdoms, they were powerful in their own areas, but they were not having any central command. Now it became easy for the English and French companies to involve in these principalities. For the first time, both English and French, they got opportunity to involve in the Carnatic. Whenever there is a succession, if one ruler dies and the immediate successor, it is not going to be a smooth succession. Transition is going to be a very violent one. The contenders for the post, they used to fight, and when they were fighting, one side take the help of French, other side take the help of English. Now, as a result, English, French, they were always rivalries. Now they got additional opportunity to show their rivalry. And once whoever wins, they started involving and they started extracting as much income for them as possible. Now, in this way, British, they own Bengal. Now, when it comes to Bengal, two important battles were there. One is Battle of Plassey, second one is Battle of Buxar. With these two battles, Bengal became the province of the British. British indirectly started controlling Bengal. Now, Bengal, since ancient times, this is Gangetic Valley. Lot of resources are there. And if you see our first empire, Magadha, Bihar, Bengal, these are the regions from where our first empire in our Indian history itself emerged from these areas. So that shows the kind of richness, fertility of the alluvial soil in this plain. Now, this Gangetic Valley became important milk cow, those we call Kamadhenu of Bengal. Kamadhenu for British. From that time period onwards, English started exploiting Bengal, and with this Bengal riches, they own Carnatic region as well. Now here, French people were initially very powerful, but later, when English captured Bengal, with Bengal riches, they beat French also in Carnatic region. Now this is where one question comes when it comes to the economic strength of southern region versus Bengal region. Here more resources, here less resources. Any ruler or any military conqueror, without a strong economic base, they cannot conquer much territories. And this is what exactly UPSC asks in this angle. So here, many things are there like why Indian rulers were defeated. And in fact, the number of soldiers in European companies very less. On the other hand, Indian rulers were having a lot of employees in the form of soldiers. But despite having large number of soldiers, Indian rulers were defeated by the small contingent of European companies. Why? And other one, what is the significance of Bengal conquest in getting Bengal? Entire India became British Empire, but the beginning point is Bengal. So it's like the Bengal conquest gave the key to Hindustan for the English. In this angle, let us see how questions are coming. For example, if you see the early European settlements like Portuguese, Dutch, English, French, then the English and French East India companies, we have to see that their struggle for supremacy. Now, British and French, their struggle for supremacy. Carnatic Wars in the southern, Bengal conquest. The conflict between the English and Nawabs of Bengal. Siraj and the English, Battle of Plassey, significance of Battle of Plassey. And in fact, the second chapter also contains some part related to Bengal. The Bengal conquest, Mir Jafar and Mir Qasim, the Battle of Buxar. So up to here, it talks about the conquest of Bengal. Now, Unit 1 is about how these different European companies came, their settlements, and second part is their involvement in the Indian politics, how they captured, British captured Bengal initially. That is chapter 1. Now, if we see the questions, how questions are coming, let us say this. Here, I have prepared all 44 years PYQ and detailed analysis is given, like in which year what question came and what is the topic. Let us go to the first unit. Now you can see this, the first unit. Here the index, unit 1, all the questions, chapter 2, all the questions, chapter 3, all the questions. Now if we go to chapter 1, now you can just by looking, glance at this, now this chapter, in these many years, how questions are coming, how the trend, since last 44 years, since 1979. Now you can see this. Since 2012 onwards, now you see 12, 10, 10, 10 plus 10, 10, 10, 20, 10. So minimum 10 marks are coming every year almost regularly. If you see 21, 10, 20 marks, 10 marks, 10 marks. So in 2022, possibility. Here, no question. In 2023, possibility is there. So this is how this particular table give you complete idea. Now, second point, the questions. Since 1992, you can see how questions are coming. Now, you see this transition of age, Robert Clive, Bengal conquest, Bengal conquest. Let us go to the latest one. In 2022, how questions were asked. In 2022 and 2021 onwards, if we go back, in 2021, Bengal conquest. The East India Company had thought that they had found an ideal puppet in Mir Qasim. Mir Qasim, however, belied the expectations of the company examined critically. This is the context for Battle of Buxar. So they are asking about how they involved and what they expected from the Nawab, but what policies Nawab has taken. and finally how it led to the conflict between two. Now, if you go to 2020, it was Dupleix. He is French general. So it is like it was France or French East India Company who had first showed the way of intervening of the Indian rulers and thereby acquiring political control over vast territories, a technique which was later perfect India Company. So for initially it was the French who showed the path to English East India Company. And here you have to see, you have to analyze what were the policies of Dupleix and how he involved in the Indian politics and how it became role model for the English people. 19. Carnatic Wars. Do you subscribe to the view that the Anglo-French tussle in Carnatic demonstrated the internal decay of provincial chieftains of South India? Now you can see, in South India, regional kingdoms over there, do you think that this Anglo-French tussle in Carnatic demonstrated the weakness? So what are the weaknesses of Indian rulers in this side? So you have to think in that perspective. And Battle of Plassey. The Battle of Plassey thus marked the beginning of political supremacy of the English East India Company in India. So you will see questions like this. Battle of Plassey. Now in 2016 also, Battle of Plassey. After the Battle of Plassey, how did India transit from the medieval to modern age? So here, this is from imperialist point of view that Britishers, they had to substantiate or they have to support their conquest of the Hindustan or India. Now for that, they used to say that British came here to civilize Indians, to pull Indians from medieval ages to the modern ages. So this is the imperialist point of view. We have to analyze critically how far this statement is true. And what were the medieval institutions and what are the modern institutions? Do you think with a single battle, all these medieval institutions will transform suddenly into modern institutions or not? In that angle. 2016, Carnatic Wars. Comment on the French ambition of building a territorial empire in India. You can see, it's all about how France involved in building empire, how British involved in building empires, and what were the weakness of the Indian rulers, how these British and French utilized these weaknesses to further their own interest. And Bengal is one of the key important provinces in India which British got in the initial days so that with these riches they could conquer the rest of India. So this is how questions are coming. Bengal conquest, Carnatic Wars. So on one hand, questions are coming, Carnatic Wars, Bengal conquest. What are the weaknesses of Indians? Why European e-companies own this? And what was the role of Dupleix? And what is the role of Bengal? So likewise, many questions, this revolve in this unit around this area, this topic. This is about Unit 1 of Paper 2 in Modern India.